Hi everybody, Mother Jamie here. Since everybody's favorite part thus far about my video homiletical offerings has been my animals photobombing, I thought I would just simply delegate the task of preaching to them. So today's sermon is brought to you by Gus and Eddie. Now, Gus and Eddie were both adopted from the Guilford County Animal Shelter when they were both about a year. And that was 12 years or 11 years ago. So they're both about 12. So Eddie and Gus have decided that we were going to take a break from all the coronavirus talk and have a refreshing change of topic back to sin, because it is Lent and it is the time for us to be talking about sin. And these two are loaded with them. And interestingly, they never have the same sin. They have different ones. For example, Eddie here, looking all angelic, Eddie will eat the food on your plate or food right off the counter, ew, if you leave it unattended for a nanosecond. So if you have to leave the table or the room, you have to hire a lookout to protect your food. Gus, on the other hand, eats books. He has eaten my complete works of Shakespeare. He has eaten my Oxford Jewish Study Bible, and he has eaten a 1662 prayer book, among many other works of literature and other random pieces of paper. Gross. Eddie will shoot out the gate if it is left open. Great crime of opportunity. He has had sleepovers at many homes around the neighborhood as we have driven around looking for him. Gus is very good about not leaving through the open gate, but he will jump the fence, or he used to before he got too old and arthritic. And Eddie here will sneak into the basement and eat the cat's food. And Gus is one of those dogs who swallows his food whole without chewing it and then tries to eat Eddie's food. So those are a few of their sins, which of course are just sort of behavioral infractions. And but of course, the deeper meaning of sin, which I prefer, is from Paul Tillich, talking about sin as separation. The idea that anything that causes a rift in our relationship of love with God, others, ourselves, or creation is sin. And as I said way back a long time ago when we were still able to have church, that in this spirit of, in this season of Lent, when we are looking at our sins, that not only do we need forgiveness, absolution, but a lot of times we need healing, that there is some damage or woundedness there that needs to be addressed and healed in order for that relationship of love to be restored. And so again, this is where dogs can come into play, because we know we have all seen many heartwarming stories and know of therapy dogs who go into nursing homes and work with veterans with PTSD and work, after Sandy Hook, all the Lutheran ministry sent all those golden retrievers to be comfort dogs for the children. And we know of, it's just a win-win when the dogs and incarcerated work together, bonding and training. That's a very good thing. And so dogs can remind us what the healing of that separation looks like. And that's actually not mere sentimentalism. That's actually kind of backed up by science. And I have this wonderful book here called Dog is Love. This was my Christmas present from Judy Rush, and it was written by an animal psychologist, PhD, who started a canine behavioral research institute at Arizona State. And he is saying that as much as the word love is anathema in scientific circles, because it's not something that can be measured in a lab, he has to use the technical word hypersociability. But in his scientific mind, after doing a lot of research, says, we can just call it love. And that dogs feel love and need love. And so that enables them to bond with humans, and it is that quality in them that forges that special bond that we have with dogs. And he concludes his book by saying that there's a movement in our culture that equates strength, especially but not only manly strength, with exploiting whatever power one has over others, be it physical strength, elite social standing, or financial prowess, at the expense of those who are weaker. This is surely a brutal morality, a dog-eat-dog attitude to life that ill becomes people or their canine friends. But there's another concept of strength, and that is the power to help the weak, to support those who are less able to fend for themselves. I'm not a religious person, but I honor and respect the great spiritual leaders who over the millennia have taught us that we find our greatest strength when we aid the weakest among us. Recognizing and freely reciprocating the call that dogs make on our affection is a way of practicing that second form of strength. In loving dogs as they love us, we tap into and reinforce our best, most altruistic selves. There is honor and decency in this selflessness, and our relationships with dogs and humans alike are elevated when we practice it. So here in this time, Eddie and Gus wish to offer you a reminder of what it is to love and be loved. And they're not without fears. They both have PTSD in different ways. I don't know anything about their life before they were taken to the Guilford County shelter, but I know both of them get triggered, again, by different things. And so they must have had some pretty significant trauma in their puppyhood, because it shows periodically. For example, if I raise my hand too fast, Eddie cowers, and that breaks my heart. And Gus is afraid. I think he must have been tied up, because sometimes he won't follow us outside, and he goes rigid when I put the leash on him, because I think he fears being tethered. So, but the advantage canines have over us is, of course, they live in the moment. And so for us, it takes a lifetime of spiritual practice often to let go of ruminating about the past or worrying about the future. Living in the moment is something that we have to practice and work at. But like the old joke says, lock your spouse and your dog in the trunk, come back after an hour and open it. And which one will be happy to see you? The dog's in the moment. The spouse is thinking about, why the hell did you put me in the trunk? But at the end of the day, we need to be reminded that like dogs, we were created for love. But unlike dogs, we have to be reminded of it, and we have to work at it, and we have to cultivate the ability to stay in the moment and not be ruled by resentments from the past or fears of the future. So allow Eddie and Gus and all the dogs you've loved to remind you of what's most important. Until next time, stay safe, stay sane, stay connected in the bonds of love. Bye-bye.